Severe weather overnight, possible tornadoes, one overturning this RV. Pounding rain and whipping winds. And surging surf. Florida and the southeast bracing for the worst. We're on the ground as Nestor takes aim at the Gulf Coast.
Tension in Syria. Families fleeing for their lives. The injured rush to hospitals. A humanitarian crisis in the making after a flare-up with Kurdish forces.
Sometimes you have to go through some pain before you can get a good solution, but the Kurds are very happy about it.
Will the ceasefire hold?
Desperate search, a possible new clue from police in the search for a missing 3-year-old. The release of this surveillance video. Officials say it shows the suspected kidnapper and a key witness they're trying to track down.
Heroic coach. The video you have to see. The dramatic moments as a coach disarms a student taking his shotgun, the two embracing.
It was the longest fraction of a second of my life.
See what happens next.
Duchesses speaking out. Kate giving her first TV news interview since joining the royal family, sharing the importance of her latest trip with Prince William. As Meghan makes headlines of her own, how she's opening up about the emotional struggle of dealing with intense public and media scrutiny.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
Good morning, and let's get straight to the breaking news. The dangerous storm Nestor moving into the Florida Panhandle this morning.
The effects of the storm being felt already across the region, hundreds of miles away from the center of the storm. Look at this video, a driver seeing flying debris. And in Tampa, in the surrounding area, a suspected tornado flipping an RV.
So here's a look at the radar now. Nestor expected to tear through the Panhandle this morning before moving right through the southeastern U.S. with high winds and heavy rain. We have team coverage. Rob Marciano is tracking the storm. But first, let's go to ABC's Victor Oquendo, who's in the thick of it in Panama City Beach. Victor, good morning to you.
Good morning. We felt the effects of Nestor all throughout the night. Here on Panama City Beach, the winds really whipping up this surf here behind us. There is storm surge all along the Big Bend as Nestor bears down on the coast.
This morning, Nestor barreling into Florida. Several reported tornadoes sending debris flying in parts of the Tampa Bay area. New images showing dozens of homes damaged, this roof peeling off, and an RV tossed on its side. The storm whipping up gusty winds and dangerous storm surge. Streets flooded in the Panhandle, water reaching these businesses. This coming 1 year after Category 5 Hurricane Michael struck the same part of the Florida Panhandle, making landfall in Mexico Beach. This is what Mexico Beach looks like now, as many are still struggling to recover from the devastation. We spoke with Gail Evans, living in this trailer after losing her home.
Do you feel safe in that with a storm coming?
It depends on the wind loads. If the wind is significant, I'll have to leave.
While Nestor may be hundreds of miles away, New Orleans isn't taking any chances. Fearing strong winds, officials are set to demolish 2 cranes today at the site of last week's deadly collapse at the Hard Rock Hotel.
We're bracing for these conditions throughout the day as Nestor continues pushing inland and dropping a lot more rain. Dan?
A lot more to come here, Victor. Thank you very much. Let's dig in now on the exact track of this storm. Rob, of course, is covering that angle. He's in State College, Pennsylvania this morning. Rob, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. Such a huge area of the southeast impacted by Nestor. It's just a mess down there. This late in the season, these storms can get, well, hybrid-like, and that's what we've seen with this. The center of it is still about 70 miles southwest of Apalachicola, but you can see most of the heavy weather is lopsided to the east side of this, and that's where we've had most of the action overnight, and we'll continue to have, and that's where we have the most wind shear. So tornado watch is in effect. We've had several reports of tornadoes this morning, and this is in effect until at least noon, Tampa, Orlando, and through Gainesville, and that may be extended northward. And then, of course, this area of the Gulf of Mexico very susceptible to storm surge, so storm surge warnings are posted. We've got 3 to 5 feet anywhere from Apalachicola around Big Bend down through Cedar Key, even in through Tampa Bay, as long as you have that southwest fetch, and we'll have that for several more hours. That surge will continue. Here's the forecast track, bringing it landfall a little bit later on today, whatever's left of this, and then turning into an extratropical storm as it goes through Georgia and the Carolinas tomorrow, and then eventually out to sea. But it really impacts much of the East Coast throughout the rest of the weekend. We'll talk more about that in detail in just a few minutes. Guys, back up to you.
All right, Rob, we'll check back with you soon. Thank you. Now to the crisis in Syria. The question at this hour, will Turkey's tenuous pause in its offensive hold? ABC's foreign correspondent James Longman is in northern Iraq with the very latest on that ceasefire and the growing humanitarian crisis at the border there. James, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. Yeah, Donald Trump has been touting his success, but we've seen images of men, women and children injured in Kurdish areas. Kurdish forces are saying Turkey have not stopped their attacks.
Turkey says the fighting in northern Syria has stopped. These Kurdish civilians tell a different story. Injured, they say, by ongoing clashes. President Trump downplaying reports of violence after speaking with Turkey's president Friday.
There was some sniper fire this morning. There was mortar fire this morning that was eliminated quickly. And they're back to the full pause.
Medical staff race to save men, women and children. For them, there has been no full pause.
Sometimes you have to go through some pain before you can get a good solution, but the Kurds are very happy about it.
But there's no evidence of that. Even the Senate Majority Leader is saying withdrawing US forces from Syria is a grave strategic mistake. The US-Turkey brokered deal orders the Kurdish forces to pull out of their positions by Tuesday. The Turkish president warning if not, they'll face a new and more determined offensive. The deal gives Turkey a stretch of the border roughly 20 miles into Syria, home to thousands of Kurds. But the Kurds, longtime allies of the US, say they won't surrender their land, calling it ethnic cleansing. Hundreds have been killed and hundreds of thousands displaced.
There's a lot of anger against the United States in this camp. Just a few days ago, these people were at home in Syria. They only feel they're here because of America.
This man and his family escaped 3 days ago, and on Trump, he's clear. The man who leaves his supporters is a traitor.
Well, the US-Turkish broker deal essentially gives Turkey the right to monitor its own safe zone. But the Kurds say that's not good enough. They want international observers in northern Syria to keep the peace. Eva?
James Longman for us there in Iraq. Well, here at home, the impeachment showdown as the Trump campaign doubles down on Mick Mulvaney's comments from his press conference. ABC's David Wright is at the White House with this story. Good morning to you, David.
Good morning, Eva. This morning, the White House is regrouping after a difficult week on multiple fronts. There was blistering criticism this week over the president's Syria policy, controversy over the decision to host next year's G7 summit at the president's own golf resort, and finally, damage control after the acting chief of staff seemed to confess that there was a quid pro quo with Ukraine. That's the new T-shirt being sold by the Trump campaign, featuring the president's pompadour right there over the O. It's a phrase that stood out in acting chief of staff Mick Mulvaney's press briefing this week, in which Mulvaney, for the first time, acknowledged the administration withheld military aid to Ukraine, in part to pressure them to investigate corruption.
What you just described is a quid pro quo. It is funding will not flow unless the investigation into the Democratic server happens as well.
We do that all the time with foreign policy. And I have news for everybody. Get over it. There's going to be political influence in foreign policy.
Mulvaney has since tried to walk his comments back, insisting there was no quid pro quo over investigating Joe Biden, and that he never meant to suggest otherwise. ABC News has learned that the U.S. ambassador to the EU was asked about Mulvaney's comments during his 9-hour testimony Thursday to impeachment investigators. Sources say Ambassador Gordon Sondland said that the arrangement Mulvaney described, if it's indeed accurate, would be improper. On Friday, President Trump himself was asked about it. He hastily changed the subject.
I think he clarified it. And I do have to say this. We yesterday had a tremendous day in Texas. We opened a Louis Vuitton plant, one of the great brands of the world.
Trump immediately went on to talk about his ribbon cutting at a Louis Vuitton factory in Texas. But the Democrats are not over it when it comes to Mulvaney's initial comments. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told CNN she considered it to be a confession and said she saw it as an example of the Trump White House trying to make lawlessness normal and even make lawlessness a virtue. The White House, or the Mulvaney comments have certainly added fuel to the fire as far as Democrats are concerned. Both the White House counsel and the Department of Justice have distanced themselves from Mulvaney's initial remarks, and the president not in a hurry to clarify them. Eva?
Well, David, Mulvaney's comments about Ukraine came as he was defending the decision to hold next summer's G7 at the president's own golf course. The House is now taking action on that?
That's right, Eva. House Democrats now plan to hold hearings on that, looking into whether it might violate the Emoluments Clause, the constitutional prohibition against the president profiting from his office. They're also likely to hold a vote condemning the move, but that resolution would likely be non-binding. Eva?
All right, David Wright for us at the White House. Over to you, Dan.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Eva. One more political note here. Democratic presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard firing back after Hillary Clinton seemed to call the congresswoman from Hawaii a favorite of the Russians. Clinton naming no names, but saying she thinks the Russians have got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and grooming her to be a third-party candidate. Clinton's team making it clear later she was talking about Congresswoman Gabbard. Shortly thereafter, Gabbard fired back on Twitter, calling Clinton, and I'm quoting here, the queen of warmongers and the embodiment of corruption.
Turning now to Boeing facing a new investigation. The jetmaker's CEO agreeing to testify before a Senate committee after newly revealed messages showed test pilots expressing concern about the 737 MAX. ABC's Stephanie Ramos is joining us now with the details in those messages. Stephanie.
Well, the FAA is demanding answers from Boeing after they waited months to disclose to the agency internal messages between test pilots who were working in the 737 MAX flight simulator. In these messages, the pilots seem alarmed and indicated there were problems with the flight control system known as the MCAS. 2 years later, that same control system was linked to 2 737 MAX crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia. Now, since the crashes, the MAX has been grounded, but those messages were sent in 2016 during the certification process for the 737 MAX. Boeing hasn't explained why it waited months before turning over the document to the FAA.
And Stephanie, lawmakers have a lot of questions about those messages and the timing of when they were released. Now Boeing's CEO expected to testify on Capitol Hill.
Absolutely. The FAA is demanding an immediate explanation from the CEO of Boeing, Dennis Muilenburg. He is expected to testify on Capitol Hill in less than 2 weeks to answer questions about these messages. Boeing says Muilenburg called the FAA administrator to respond to the concerns raised and also told the administrator that they are taking every step possible to safely return the MAX to service.
All right, Stephanie Ramos, thank you.
Well, in California, 2 men returning from a dive trip had to be rescued off the coast of Newport Beach after their boat went up in flames. The men say they smelled smoke, and then within minutes, the boat was engulfed in flames. The divers grabbed their cell phones and wallets and abandoned ship on a dinghy until they were rescued. The boat's charred remains were towed ashore. The owner, having a good sense of humor here, joking the boat was named Uno Mas, which of course means one more, is now No Mas.
Well, a jury has found an Indiana woman accused of hitting and killing 3 children while they were boarding their school bus last year guilty of homicide. Alyssa Shepard struck and killed 9-year-old Olivia Stahl and her twin 6-year-old brothers Mason and Xavier while they were crossing the street towards their bus in October of 2018. A 3rd child was also hit and injured. Shepard faces up to 21.5 years in prison.
We have some breaking Brexit news this morning from the UK. Is a wrench being thrown into a possible deal for the Brits to pull out of the European Union? ABC's Julia McFarlane is right outside Parliament in London with the latest. Julia, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. Parliament is sitting today, the first Saturday at work for lawmakers since Britain was in a state of war. Such is the gravity of today's business in the House of Commons. Prime Minister Boris Johnson's first 3 months of leadership have been far from smooth, but he landed an important victory when he persuaded the EU to renegotiate that Brexit deal, something his critics said he was unlikely to achieve. Now, as lawmakers prepare to vote on that deal, it could be his biggest moment yet. After suffering acute losses in Parliament and a humiliating slapdown from the Supreme Court, ruling that his suspension of Parliament was unlawful, if MPs vote to block his deal today, Johnson could find himself in that nightmare scenario that he has dreaded, which is to delay Brexit a 3rd time, asking the EU for another extension. If, however, his deal does pass, it will pave the way for the UK to finally depart the EU on that Halloween deadline. A remarkable achievement in this most divided of parliaments, putting Johnson in a formidable position ahead of a general election that everyone expects very soon. Whit?
And the entire world watching those developments closely. Julia McFarland for us. Thank you. Now to a new development in the case of a missing Alabama girl. Police releasing video taken moments before she disappeared. ABC's Kaylee Hartung joins us with details. Kaylee, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. This video is chilling to see. Just on the edge of the frame of a surveillance camera, you'll see Camille McKinney and a friend running around a playground as children do. And then a kidnapping in progress. For the first time, authorities releasing surveillance video showing the moment before 3-year-old Camille McKinney was kidnapped in Birmingham last weekend. Police say Camille and another child are seen here playing as a man approaches the children and walks away.
We want to see if he has additional information.
Police believe that witness, who's not considered a suspect, may hold key information about this second man, who police believe is the kidnapper, seen here leading the children away. Camille hasn't been seen since.
We have a child of tender age, 3 years old, that's been missing a week. If someone has her, are they taking care of her?
A surveillance image released days ago showing this blue SUV speeding away led police to take 2 people into custody. They aren't accused in the child's abduction, but they're being held on unrelated charges. For 39-year-old Patrick Stallworth, those charges are child pornography. Camille, known to family and friends as Cupcake, was attending a birthday party last Saturday night in a public housing community.
I want a back bag, and I'll do anything to have my baby back.
The child was last seen wearing a pink T-shirt with a leopard print Minnie Mouse design, leopard print shorts, and yellow, white, and blue hair bows. She's believed to be in extreme danger.
If you can hear me, we need your help. We really want to see this child back safely.
Police are asking for the community's help. They need to identify that key witness, and they need volunteers. They're doing a grid search of an area in Birmingham where they believe at least one of those men frequents. And you saw 2 children on that video. While that was the last time that Camille was seen, police say the other little girl, she's home safe.
This is just a horrifying situation. Kaylee, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Let's switch gears now and turn to weather. And Rob Marciano, he joins us from State College, Pennsylvania, having all the fun out there this morning. Hey, Rob.
Good morning again. We continue our tour with ESPN's College Game Day. More of that in a sec, but let's update you on what's going on with Nestor, because it's really going to impact a large portion of the southeast. The center of this thing still about 60, 70 miles off the coastline, but you see all the heavy weather, those bright reds in the satellite imagery showing that Tampa to Fort Myers, Orlando are really getting crushed with the heavy rain. It's really becoming an extra tropical or subtropical, but we have tropical storm warnings for the impacts, and that's from Walton County line through Panama City, Apalachicola, of course, Mexico Beach getting impacted by this, and then storm surge warnings all the way down into the Tampa Bay area. But rainfall is going to be pushing up into Georgia and through Atlanta, going to get some heavier rain. Severe storms on the eastern flank of this. So all of Florida and the coastlines of Georgia and the Carolinas could see some tornadoes spin up as well. And then during the day tomorrow, it gets up into Virginia and the Delmarva. Even now, as it gets off the coastline, maybe skimming parts of the northeast coastlines of New Jersey, Long Island, and parts of Massachusetts as well. Rainfall could be heavy, 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 inches, but it's moving pretty quickly, so we don't expect a lot of inland flooding. Matter of fact, some of this rain across the southeast would be welcome. That's a check of what's happening in Nestor and here in State College, Pennsylvania. Now look at your local forecast.
Well, hello and good morning, Washington. Meteorologist Alex Liggett. Hey, the weekend's going to be 50-50. If you have outdoor plans, get them done today. A lot of sunshine this morning, some afternoon and evening clouds. Could see a good sunset. That's will be clouds out ahead of Nestor. 66 today. You see near 60 tomorrow. Periods of rain will be likely, particularly in the morning hours. Now, that will pass to our east on your Monday. Partly cloudy skies. Temperatures back near 70 degrees to start the work week. Next chance for rain comes Tuesday of next week.
Nestor certainly bringing some dangerous weather to the southeast, but thankfully nothing like what was a year ago, nearly today, Hurricane Michael coming into that area. So we are certainly happy about that. We are happy to be in Happy Valley, where temperatures are right around the freezing mark. You can probably see my breath. You might be hearing the kids just about 200 yards from us. We're going into that Michigash for what is ESPN's College Game Day in the next half an hour. So we'll see you and hopefully hear you in just a few minutes. Guys, back up to you.
Rob, I love you, and I would never correct you on anything meteorological, but as somebody who had a bar mitzvah, it's Michigas. Just so you know. My Yiddish game is tight.
Send me the spelling on that, please. Thank you.
I love it. I never thought I'd be speaking Yiddish on Robert, love you.